Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and this is our WWE review for the week. Now, coming out, we're going to go into our so-so portion of the show. The stuff that was neither good nor bad, mostly forgettable. First up is a generic opening with Randy Orton, Triple H, and Stephanie. I don't know how many weeks in a row we've seen this sort of opening. We're starting to get it on TNA too. The only thing that I thought was good about the opening, other than them setting up the Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton match, was the fact that Orton managed to quell the CM Punk chants. He went right along with it, picked up the pace of his I guess you could say vocabulary, the way he worded it, and kind of made it so the fans had to pay attention to what he was saying and couldn't chant CM Punk over him. Steph and Triple H come out. Steph gets murdered with CM Punk chants. Kind of the underwhelming theme of the night. Obviously, everybody knew it was going to happen with CM Punk walking out, taking his ball, and going home. But it happened. Next up is Christian versus Jack Swagger. Personally, I think their Friday night match was better. I like what they're doing with Swagger. I think they're going to break up the Real Americans, and I think that we're going to see Cesaro get a more prominent role on television, which I'm all for. Just something, Christian looks a bit slower since coming back. And who's to fault him? The guy's been wrestling for, 15, 17 years now? Wrestled some of the most dangerous matches in the history of the WWE. Of course it's going to take a toll on your body. Unfortunately, this match I think was the lesser of the two matches they had within the last week. And it's actually lesser than their feud that they had in the revamped ECW, which was terrible. But the feud was good. That was a good feud and a terrible idea of a promotion, I guess, third show, whatever you want to call it. Next up in the so-so list, the cage match between the New Age Outlaws and Cody Rhodes and Goldust, the Rhodes brothers. The thing that bothered me is for about the first 10 minutes of the match, it wasn't a cage match. It was just a wrestling match that happened to be inside a cage. No one tried to use the cage to their advantage. I didn't think the feud needed a cage match. I didn't think it warranted a cage match. I don't know. Just, to me, it wasn't that great. And then the only saving grace was the Cody Rhodes moonsault that Road Dogg either or totally botched, or Cody just went in the wrong direction to where he was, but Cody didn't hit nothing. I do like the outcome. It's going to give the New Age Outlaws, the transitional champions, a chance to lose it to somebody new, maybe the Uso brothers. I was hoping for maybe the Primetime Players, but obviously that's not happening now. But, a different tag team, an actual team. Coming off of that, last but not least in our so-so segment, was the interaction with Batista and Alberto Del Rio. Now, Del Rio, I thought came off like $1 million. Dave Batista, sad to say, but he looks like a tool. I mean, he looks like a complete moron. Like, he hasn't been watching Monday Night Raw for the 4 years he's off, and no one's commented or brought him up to speed on what he's doing. I don't know. I think it might be the wardrobe. I think the stuff that he's wearing to the ring screams like 1999 douchebag so much. With the skinny jeans and the bedazzled shirts. I mean, come on, Dave. I don't know. That's what kind of got me sour on it. I think Del Rio cut probably the best promo of his life. Unfortunately, he's going to be pretty much thrown to the wolves to give Batista something to do all the way till Mania. Which is why it kind of feels so-so to me. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into the bad portions of the show. The one and only thing I thought fell in this is the Wade Barrett Fat Americans Super Bowl promo. Or whatever you call it, Bad News Barrett thing. It was like they're reaching for something for him to do. You knew eventually someone would come out and stop him and challenge him for what he was saying, but Jerry Lawler? Where are they going to go with that? Obviously, they don't want Lawler in the ring. Maybe Lawler will lead the charge for someone else. He did leave the cryptic quote of, maybe you won't be here next week, so who knows. Just a weird segment with... The Bad News Barretts have been very hit or miss, and this is probably the worst of the worst. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week from last week. Question was, do you guys watch NXT? Well, unfortunately, we didn't get any answers on it, so I'm going to say, for the most part, you guys don't. I personally do. I think it's the best televised wrestling show that WWE puts out. You guys, if you haven't had a chance, if you have Hulu Plus, or it's going to be on the WWE Network very soon, check out NXT. It's worth looking at. It's worth seeing. They run it like it's an indie promotion, very much so, and it's very cool to see guys, the next generation of stars. A guy like just a year ago, you had guys like The Shield, the Wyatt family, Biggie Langston, Fandango, all doing their thing in NXT and all doing it very well. And you've seen what an impact they've made coming into the roster. Now the next generation, this year, is starting with someone we're going to talk about later, Emma, coming in, has made, it's going to be what it is. I think they're doing a real good job down there, and I think it's worth noting that people should be watching this. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is Natalia tweeted out a picture, blurred out, but you could tell she's getting a t-shirt finally. Very cool of them to finally give her one after all the years she's been on the roster. The question of the week for this week is, who would you like to see them make a t-shirt of or for next that hasn't got one yet? Obviously, they've made a ton of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, John Cena t-shirts. But who's somebody that you dig on the roster whose shirt you would buy that they haven't made one of yet? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down there in the comments. Now on to the good segment of the night. The part where I get to be happy. First off, we had The Shield versus Rey Mysterio, Kofi Kingston, and Biggie Langston. Thought it was a good match. I thought it worked very well. The differing styles of Kofi and Biggie and Rey played well against the different members of the Shield. I don't know, I might be a sadist, but I thought that Roman Reigns looked like a badass with blood running down his face and destroying everybody. Kind of harkens back to the days of the old ECW, or guys like Bruiser Brody and Abdul the Butcher would get bloody as crap but beat your ass either way. I thought it was cool, and I enjoyed it personally. Like I said, I might be a sadist. Then we had the amazing promo by the Wyatt family, where we actually had all three of them talk. It was pretty cool to see that they're giving Harper and they're giving Rowan a little bit more talking time now. And that mixed in with the whole speech about pawns and kings that Bray Wyatt did. I thought it was pretty awesome, actually. Good match and a great way to showcase the Shield for an upcoming match against the Wyatt family. Next up, we had Zack Ryder versus Titus O'Neil. I'm sorry about that, folks. Very excited to have seen Zack Ryder come on the screen, then got a little bit let down. Not on the fact that it was Titus O'Neil coming out, because I think he could be a real big-time player, pardon the pun, if pushed well. And I think they're doing really well with this push as of now. I wish they would have used somebody else other than Ryder for him to squash. However, I did thoroughly enjoy it. I like the fact that Titus is a guy on a show like this where you don't have CM Punk who went home, you don't have John Cena on the show, some of your main guys aren't there to wrestle. You give a guy like Titus O'Neil a chance to shine, and he came out and did it. Maybe he'll be one of the next guys to be in that category. up there with the Sheamuses and Randy Ortons and John Cena's of the world. But I thought this was a very good idea, very good way to get Titus O'Neil coming out and becoming the star that I think he can be. Speaking about new stars, normally I don't like these segments, but it fits so well with both the people's character. Summer Rae versus Emma dance-off competition. I liked it as a way to finally get Emma out of the crowd and into the ring. Hopefully they go into a feud right away. They've had a feud in NXT that was actually pretty darn good. If you don't know, Emma was trained by the great Lance Storm and is one hell of a wrestler to go along with the quirky little gimmick she has, which is pretty much the Elaine Bennis dance furthered. But she's one heck of a wrestler, and Summer Rae is actually really solid and getting better by the day. And I think this would be a cool little feud and a cool little addition to the Divas division in WWE. I think Emma's someone that they should have called up. Timing's right. I think she can help the division a whole lot, and that's why this isn't a good segment. Next up is a match with Sheamus versus Curtis Axel. I thought this was actually a good showing for Axel. I think he sold well for Sheamus. I'm not a huge fan of either guy. I had high hopes for Axel, but those have dwindled down a bit. Sheamus I've never really been a fan of. I respect the guy. I think he does some great matches every now and again. I thought that this pairing worked really well for him. I think that Axel was a good opponent for him. I thought it was good going forward. I enjoyed this match. Coming off of that, we had the second six-man tag match. We had Dolph Ziggler, R-Truth, and Xavier Woods versus the Wyatt family. Wyatts pick up the win. We get another promo, this time by the Shield. The way that they're playing this out and the fact that we're going to have the Wyatts versus Shield at an Elimination Chamber is something that the fans have wanted ever since both have been on the show. I think it's going to be the show stealer. It might be the event. It might be the breakup of the Shield, especially with the hot tag earlier with Ambrose tagging in when Reigns was going to do the spear. Or it could be something totally different. I think either way you're going to get a really awesome match with 6 great wrestlers in it. Which, who can complain? And if you remember, I've been a fan for a long, long time. If you're an older fan like I am, you remember the 1980s and you remember what NWA and how cool they would make their 6-man tag matches. They had a 6-man tag championship, and their 6-man matches were on par, even better at times than the main event or the tag team matches, and I think this could be one of those type of matches. Next up, for the first time in a long time, we had a Divas match that falls into the good section. Naomi versus Oksana. Other than the awkward knee that actually injured Naomi's eye, I thought this was a good match. 2 solid contenders for the Divas Championship, wrestling it out. A pretty decent match. Oksana, I thought it was funny, and if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, I know some of you guys are, especially you, Paul, from the Deadly Sins. But Oksana kind of looked like the red version of Melina to me. Hit me up with a comment if you see this, Paul, and you agree with what I'm saying. If you think I'm crazy, just say I'm crazy. But for some reason, I had that going through my mind. I thought this was a good match. Aided by AJ Lee on commentary, I thought she was spot on in her part. And last but not least, Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. They 100% delivered. This is probably, if not the best Daniel Bryan-Randy Orton match, the second or third best Daniel Bryan-Randy Orton match. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was great from the beginning to the end, and it wasn't all Daniel Bryan. Randy Orton stepped up big time, reminded us why he's in the position that he's in, because Randy Orton is actually a great wrestler when he applies himself. And this was a match he absolutely did. Daniel Bryan wins with the flying knee, After the match, Corporate Kane comes out and attacks Daniel Bryan, seeming to be leading Daniel Bryan down the road that they were going with CM Punk, which would be to a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. However, great segment to end the show. Nice little thing to get a new feud going. I don't think, and I'm one of them, that Daniel Bryan fans would be upset if Daniel Bryan's not in the main event at WrestleMania for the title, but he has a match against Triple H, which is a big-time match for a guy like Daniel Bryan. No pun intended. That is going to elevate him almost as much as winning the world title at WrestleMania would. But still, keep him in the title picture. Maybe he wins the title at SummerSlam. Would be cool to see it come full circle at that time. Or even the pay-per-view after WrestleMania. I think it's over the limit, they call it now. I'm an old fan, so it's been different things for different years. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go right into our rating system. If you've seen the show before, or if you haven't, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. 1's a great colleague, 2's a Heath Slater, 3's a Randy Orton, 4's a CM Punk, 5's a Daniel Bryan. Obviously, I got to rework that, take somebody out that took his ball home. But, funny as it seems, I'm going to give the show a 4, a CM Punk. The show without CM Punk gets a CM Punk. Who would have thunk it? I thought missing CM Punk and John Cena, arguably the two biggest stars in the company up until this week, not being on the show, this was an excellent show, not having either one of them on there. And it showed we have guys that can carry it if they're missing in action. The Wyatt family, The Shield, Daniel Bryan, Titus O'Neil, all different guys all over the roster stepped their game up and showed that if they're given the time and given a chance, they can go to greatness as well. But basically, that's what I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.